Hi, my name is Rodel Augusto G. Sarmiento, and I will be your host for this webcast. Thanks for sparing your time with us. Let me remind all viewers that the subject of this webcast is not intended for the advanced Excel users, as we will only explain the two most important terminologies in spreadsheet computing before delving into data entry, formatting, calculation, and aesthetics to say the least. I suggest that you look into other topics of advanced Excel that will best suit your interests. Managing spreadsheets is the heart of Excel Workbook. Newbies must be creative enough to arrange the data across the worksheets in a manner that are best served for the end users. Newbies have to understand how the workbook and its worksheets were designed by the creators of Microsoft Excel to best express their creativity on purpose. We request our viewers to internalize these concepts by way of analogy after watching this video. When you have a rough idea of what the workbook and worksheets like in a layman's term, you will appreciate why you're using Excel in the first place. We hope it becomes your springboard for learning more on the components inside the Excel workbook. As I'd mentioned in our previous webcast, learning through doing increases our chance to retain this newfound knowledge. Hey, this is Dal. Welcome to Ascend Webcast, the business solutions maintained and operated by Aldana Sarmiento and Company. Welcome to Ascend Webcast. Learning the Basic Excel webcast series are not intended to promote Microsoft and its products in any way. Our goal is to help out our colleagues in the accounting and other allied professions from small and medium-scale enterprises by teaching them how to use Microsoft Excel more effectively in the office. This webcast will benefit more the teachers and students in the academe, especially the graduating students. Most of the challenges we encountered as small employers, especially from the public practice, are speed to get the job done right at the first time. Taking new CPAs and fresh graduates under our wings while learning this trade is time-consuming, especially in teaching the right technologies to complement our style of work. Time and again, the right way of using MS Excel is extremely beneficial for our scale as we get more job done in less time as we lean towards the digital economy. These new employees will be better off as junior associates or programmers when they already know the essential features of Excel before getting on board. They won't get funky when they are introduced to advanced Excel, especially on data analytics. This webcast is intended for all newbies or beginners of Microsoft Excel. The goal of this presentation is to teach our audience what the workbook is like, how it is indexed, and the interplay of worksheets in the workbook. We will not introduce you to the Excel UIs yet, as we want you to learn the basics of all basics so that when you watch our succeeding webcasts, you won't get lost in the translation of various terminologies used as you progress in these tutorials. The terminologies that will be used throughout learning the basic Excel webcast series are the same for Excel 2007 to Excel 365. So sit back, relax, and learn. Before we dive to Excel, let us revisit the workbook and the worksheet. I think it is very important for the Excel newbies and basic users that we're on the same page when we speak of technical terms like this. So when I say this is what I meant, and so on and so forth. On the left side of the screen is the Excel workbook icon that you click to open up the workbook, and on your right is the Excel GUI that pop up after clicking the Excel workbook icon. Underneath the icon are Sheet 1 to Sheet 3, which refers to your worksheet. I will do an analogy of the notebook to help you understand what I'm trying to explain. A workbook is like your notebook, and the pages inside your notebook are like worksheets. You don't write on the face of the notebook, except when you write the title and the name of the owner, to recognize which subject that this notebook will be used for and help your teacher figure out who is the owner of that notebook so she can write the scores in her grade sheets. For example, during your high school days, you assign a notebook to write notes taken during the class, homework, seat work, and answers to your homework or seat work. Each page contains a write-up which is equivalent to your data. So if you assign a notebook for English, the same holds true for your notebooks in algebra, physics, Filipino, history, and so on and so forth. A workbook is equivalent to an Excel file. Inside the workbook is a worksheet. For every workbook, it contains at least one worksheet. All data are stored in the worksheets, and these data are saved in the workbook. A worksheet saves as a page of the workbook. Each worksheet is where the data are entered, manipulated, changed, and analyzed based on the purpose of the Excel user. In Tools File Explorer, you will see the workbook sample icon, and underneath is the metadata of this file. The metadata is like the title and name of the owner in my analogy of the notebook. What metadata means is that it is the data about your data. For example, workbook sample is the name of the file, the type of Excel is Microsoft Office Excel worksheet, there's no title, there's no author, the size is 9.11, and the date modified is November 2, 2018, and so on and so forth. We often overlook the value of metadata of the workbook. The metadata serves as the surface details of your workbook other than the file name. More often, we ask our office mates about the file name and the date when the workbook was last saved and file location to get its latest version. Little do we know that metadata is very handy to get a fair idea of what the workbook is all about before opening the data inside the workbook. If you happen to have multiple versions of Excel workbooks in the folder, the tendency for the basic user is to open the workbook one by one. So to save time, you may want to consider expanding metadata of your Excel workbook for fast searching other than the file name. The metadata of the Excel workbook can be created in the File Explorer or when you save a newly created Excel workbook. Here, I am in the File Explorer and I will add one metadata for the title. I'll write short keys, navigating the worksheet, and I click Save. So notice I've saved a metadata, short keys navigating the file. And now I will open the workbook. Okay. And then, since this is an existing workbook, I will save as the workbook, as Excel workbook. And I will add one metadata, learning the killer Excel. So I'm going to save the file, replace, close, and there you go. Title and subject were added to the metadata of workbook sample, and then from 9:56 p.m. it changed to 9:59 p.m. To recap a simpler analogy, managing the workbook is like maintaining a notebook. A workbook's metadata is like the subject and owner's name in the notebook. Each worksheet is like a page in the notebook. Entering data in the worksheets is like filling up notes in the notebook. And more worksheets used is like writing more pages in the notebook. By the end of this presentation, you can best recall the Excel workbook to a personal notebook. If you remember how to organize your personal notes back in your school days, I think it will be easier for you to organize, segregate, and maintain your spreadsheet data in the office. If not, I guess this is the best time to start organizing your spreadsheets by sticking your feet in the shoes of the end users of your workbook. Aside from learning the core functions in Microsoft Excel, a balance on work creativity and data organization will go a long way to optimizing the computing power of Microsoft Excel and your PC. You have reached the end of another learning episode of Ascend Webcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed this episode with your host, Del. Please don't forget to click the like button or share this episode's URL to your friends, office mates, or colleagues in our profession. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thanks for tuning in.